Hey folks, in this video we're going to learn how to create a Moodle Wiki. So the first thing of course we need to do is to open up the wiki itself. We can do that by going to the table of contents and finding the wiki in the specific module in the contents, or we can actually go to the module itself and scroll down to the bottom here. Here's where we have our Chem 109 wiki. So we'll just click on this. And we're going to open it up to what's called the table of contents. Now there's nothing right here now, so at this point you're going to start creating the table of contents for your wiki. So we select create page, and then we just start entering information. We have this little box here which allows us to enter text. It allows us to enter, if we open it up here, we can actually enter images, we can enter videos, we can enter hyperlinks. This is going to allow you to be very creative in the construction of your wiki pages. So let's create our contents. So what you're going to create here of course depends on specifics of what you're planning to enter in the wiki. So what I'm entering is not necessarily going to be what you're entering, but I'm going to show you how to start the contents. So to create a table of contents here, what we're going to do is we're going to generate links to other pages. And so the way we do that is we use square brackets. We're going to hit 2 square brackets, and then we're going to type the name of the page that we're linking to. So let's say our first page is about energy. And you can call this anything you want, whatever you're choosing to do. And then how about the next page corresponding to, say, molecular structure. And let's let our last page be about climate change. And again, I'm just choosing these arbitrarily. You will choose your own based on the instructions associated with the project. All right, so we've created 3 links. And then actually, let's go ahead, because there's a research component associated with this. Whatever that research topic might be, so you might want to give it another name, whatever the topic is that you're choosing to work on. And we're going to go down here and we're going to save. All right, so you see what comes up when we do this is we've got a situation where we've got 4 pages. This is what we've typed in. You notice it's in red, and that's because we haven't created those pages yet. So we're going to click on one of these, and we're going to create a page again. Now, this is where we're going to add some content. All right, and we've got a whole bunch of different options here for adding content. We can add simple text, we can add images. If you just kind of push your cursor over any of these and hold it there, we'll come up and tell you what exactly it does. So we can add just text comments, we can add links to websites, we can add images, we can add videos, and you see within the text you can do superscripts and subscripts. Certainly I would encourage you to use those, particularly if you're dealing with maybe chemical compounds, and use subscripts for the formulas for chemical compounds. There also is an equation editor, which is a very primitive equation editor. I don't recommend it. You can play around with it if you want, but it's not exactly intuitive. You might be better using equation editors that you might find online to generate equations, if you want to generate equations, if you need to generate equations. There also is a way to enter characters other than normal characters. So you can see you've got the Greek alphabet down here. You've got things like there's a degree symbol. You've got other symbols here that you can add if you need those for your text. You can create tables, etc. So you can play around with this and explore it. You want to create a page that is easy to follow, is well organized, and you may have links to other pages within your page. It depends on how deep you want to go. Do you want to take the red pill or the blue pill? How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? All right, so we're just going to do some simple things here. So I'm going to just start out here. This is energy, and again, I'm just creating something that is not necessarily anything that you would want to do, but we're going to talk about, let's say we're going to have potential energy. And again, I could make this a separate page if I wanted to, but I'm just going to leave it here for now. If I wanted to make it a separate page and link to another page, I'd have the double brackets again around it to create that, but I'm not going to do that. And again, using these wikis, it's going to be definitely a learning curve associated with it, so play around with it. Don't be afraid to do it. And I'll come back to this in a minute and show you how you can edit and review. You can go back to previous versions if you want. But let's just say, I'm going to say potential energy. Oops, I didn't want to do a double bracket here. And let me give it a heading. So I can go up here to the top, you see the paragraph styles, and you have a couple of different options here. You can make it large, small, or medium or small. So I'm going to make it large. All right, so potential energy is large. There's a large heading here. All right, and I can, change it to italics if I wanted to do that. I can actually change its color. Let's make it blue. And you see you've got a few options here. You don't have a lot, but you do have a few options for changing the appearance of your text when you go through this. And I'm going to say potential energy. Let me just do this. I can do bullets if I wanted to. Or I could just type sentences, whatever I would like to do here for doing that. And we can say gravitational potential energy, or it could be Coulombic interactions. And again, I'm just doing stuff here. If it doesn't recognize the term, of course, I mean, it's saying this is a misspelling, but it's not, because it doesn't recognize that term, interactions. But Coulombic, and I know you've used in Word and word processing software and other kinds of packages where if it's not in the dictionary of the app, then it's going to show up and tell you it's misspelled. One of the things that we can do is we can add images associated with this. And so we can do that if we've got images on our desktop. For example, we can go ahead and insert images. Okay, so let's grab an image that I have saved on my desktop. So I'm going to click on this button here. I'm going to browse. I'm going to upload a file. I'm going to select gravitational potential energy. I'm going to call it potential energy. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to upload the file. And now we need to do some things like we'll just add a little description here. Make sure it's something that's there that makes sense. As far as sizing goes, that's pretty big, and you may have to play around with this to get it right. I'm going to just say something like 400, and then it should auto size so that the dimensions are correct. This is what it's going to look like, and you can play around with the sizes. I'm going to save it, and there you have it. All right, so now I've got my image embedded. Now, I took this, you may recognize this from Labster. I took this off the web, so I'm going to give a slight attribution to this. At the very least, I'm going to indicate the Labster website where I grabbed this from. If you're grabbing anything from the web, you need to make sure you give it the proper attribution. And so I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to type Labster potential energy. If you got an author, if you know what that is, you will make sure you want to do that. And then I'm just going to indicate the website here for that. so that I've got that there. So that's the basic structure here for something that includes text and an image. Now there's some other things that we're going to want to do. We might want to include videos and things of that nature, and I will describe that later. So I'm going to save this for now. And so there we've got the wiki page. All right, now, once you've got this, if you ever want to edit it, so you'll notice that what comes up here is view. And so this allows you to view it. But if you want to edit it, if you're working with your group colleague, then your group colleague can, of course, get in here and change things as well. You'll notice that if you want to edit, you're going to click on Edit here, and it'll allow you to go right back into that box and do some additional editing. If you want to take a look at the history, one of the nice things about this is if you make a change and you don't like it, it's going to list all the versions. Every time somebody gets in, it's going to indicate who gets into it and changes it. You can always revert back to a past version because all of them are going to be listed here under history. So that's a really nice feature that allows you to go back if you make changes and things don't work, and then you can do that. So we've learned how to enter text in our wiki page. We've learned how to use different text options, colors, etc. All of that you can play around with to create the look that you want for your page. And I'd encourage you to create a look that's not just plain old text. We've learned how to upload an image. We've learned how to source that image, and you'll notice that Moodle has created a link to the website since we took this off the website. So now what do? We can continue to add things, and for your project, what you're going to need to do is more than just a list here. I wanted examples, for example, potential energy, any mathematical expressions that you think might be necessary. There should be text explaining these, and you can build links to these below. You can do this in any order which you think is reasonable to set this up in a way that's readable for anybody like me who comes in to take a look at your page. And one way to think about this is to think about, if I was creating a study guide to prepare for an exam on this material, what would I need in order to study? In some of my classes, for example, I have students bring a cheat sheet in for exams. So if I was bringing a cheat sheet that has important information for the exam, what would I include here? So that's how you want to think about this. There should be reasonable descriptions of all the important concepts that are introduced and examples of those concepts. And this may include, for example, problems that you've worked through. You could simply just, if you've got handwritten problems, you could, for example, just simply photograph those, upload those into your wiki. You can upload files into your wiki, and I'll get back to that in a few minutes as well. So, all right, so this is where we are. Let's say we want to take a break at this point, and go back, maybe eat some lunch, come back to it later once we've had a chance to think about it. Maybe we've prepared some stuff in a Word document. If you're entering text into the wiki, one of the things I recommend is that you create it first in a Word document, and then you can just simply copy and paste directly into the wiki page. That way you've got another source of your work in addition to what's in the wiki page itself. So let's just take a break. All right, so we're going to get out of this. We'll go back to our main page. Let's just go back to the wiki project page, and we take our little break. Now we'll continue our discussion of wiki entries in part 2 of this video series.